The Profectory Podcast, Mastering the Mind and Market. Hosted by Manny Teran, we explore what it takes to succeed, both in business and within yourself. From strategy and business growth to mindset and resilience, we provide the tools to lead with clarity, confidence, and wisdom. Welcome to the Profectory Podcast, Mastering the Mind and Market. My name is Manny Teran, and I'm your host. On today's podcast, we are exploring the question that plagues every entrepreneur, every business owner, every change maker, every artist, everyone. And that is the concept and idea of why don't we start? We have big plans. We have big dreams. We have ideas. We have plans of making huge changes in our life and the lives of others. But why don't we start? There's something there that prevents us from starting. This podcast, we're going to tear open that concept, and I'll give you some actionable things that I've used because I struggle with this all the time, and some friends of mine that are very powerful, very successful, that have also used some of these things in their growth of their business and their career. And we'll reference some Stoic principles and some modern science and all that as well. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting here right now. We're recording this podcast in my living room. I have a podcast studio that's being renovated at the moment. And I thought to myself, well, I'll wait until it's ready to record my next podcast. Then I realized, no, Manny, you need to create content. You need to share this message. You need to get out there and use this as an example. And so that's the number one thing is these excuses. We have all these excuses. Oh, it's not the right time. Oh, I'll wait until this happens before I start. Oh, the market is saturated. I'm not going to start this new business. Oh, well, I don't have enough time, or I don't have enough money. The number of excuses that are there will always prevent you from starting. There's two great quotes that I like to reference for this. One of them is from an author that wrote a book called The War of Art. And what he said is actually, he references the idea that resistance is a universal force. Resistance is like friction. It's always going to be there. It's always going to push against whatever we're going to be doing, whether the friction is walking down the road or pushing something down the road or whatever. There's resistance everywhere. There's resistance in the air that we're breathing. And so it's universal. So we need to figure out a way to get through that resistance. And Marcus Aurelius also said something very interesting. He said, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. That one is brilliant. And the reason I really like that one a lot is because there is no tomorrow. Literally, there is no tomorrow. We think there's a tomorrow. We even plan for tomorrow, and we live our life like there's going to be a tomorrow. But when you start to realize that there may not be a tomorrow, that you may not have another opportunity to go at this, then it changes your mindset a bit. It gives you a little bit of the impetus to see those excuses for what they are. So that's the first thing you need to do. Recognize that excuses are going to be there, resistance is universal, and ultimately look them in the face and realize that they're just excuses. They're not energy. They're not a person that's pushing against you. They're not a literal physical roadblock on the road. They're not a gate. They're not a wall of ice, whatever you want to call it. They're not physical. It's just the conversation you have with yourself in your mind. Number one. Number two is the idea of fear and ego. Now, this is a very powerful one. This is a fear of failure, fear of not being good at something. Well, here's a universal truth. When you're starting off doing something for the first time, guess what? You're going to suck at it. You're going to be terrible at it. You're going to struggle with it. You're going to look silly, whether that's swinging a golf club, whether that's learning a new language and trying to speak it to somebody. Whatever it is, you're going to sound like an idiot. And guess what? Who cares? Who cares? Every amazing artist, performer, dancer, whatever, at one point in time was not that. And they had to build their career by brick, by practicing, by looking dumb, by swinging that golf club in a weird way and having the ball slice out to the right or whatever. You're going to look silly. So that idea of fear and ego are going to eat you away. It's just something that we need to deal with and recognize that it's there. There's a great quote by Epictetus that said that it's not events that disturb people, it is their judgments about them. So that is embodied in the idea of, okay, I'm going to start this new program, whatever it might be, and then you show up to, say it's jujitsu, whatever, you show up the first day, and you're looking around and you're intimidated immediately. And that fear and ego of like, okay, well, I don't even want to start because these guys are way above me and I don't want to fail, so I'm just going to walk away. Right there. So recognize there's excuses, number one. Number two, recognize that there's fear and ego that are going to be there pushing against you. There's a great entrepreneur that I have actually seen in person, and that's Sarah Blakely. So she's the founder of Spanx. I don't know if you know this. It's a multi-billion-dollar company, and she's killed it in her career. She started off her career selling fax machines door to door. She had no background in fashion or manufacturing, but she found an unmet need, something there that was a problem for her. And so she dove in and created the idea and then ultimately the company of Spanx. And if you look at her journey and you study it, you realize that the fear was there, the ego was there, the excuses were there, and she still made it because she recognized that they were there and she persevered. She pushed through those things. So the idea of that wall of ice, it's not real. It's an imaginary wall of ice. She pushed through it. She realized that, no, I'm not going to let these excuses, I'm not going to let the excuse that I'm not into manufacturing, I'm not into the fashion industry, stop me. I'm going to continue pushing through and make it happen. Her dad used to ask her daily what she had failed at that day. And that was in a weird way, a celebration. You know, we're not taught to fail in life. If you think about from kindergarten all the way through high school, and even if you have gone past that into college and into your advanced studies, failure is not a good thing. In first grade, you come home and you have a C or whatever, and you fail at something. It's not good. It's actually looked down upon. And the biggest mind sort of twisting concept that in business, you want to fail fast, and you want to fail often. Because if you're failing fast and often, it means you're pushing through those imaginary walls of ice. It means that you're figuring out ways to get around and you're falling, but then you get back up. And when you get back up, you learn, you rinse, and you repeat. You add features to your path that allow you to find new and better ways and to get done what needs to get done. And ultimately, it's something that we all need to understand and push through. So I love that her dad would ask her, what'd you fail at today? Brilliant. The next part is the analysis paralysis, and then the idea of perfectionism. And that is, well, I'm not going to do this because I need to figure out everything there is to this subject matter. If you're starting a new business, you want to know everything about it. You want to analyze it. You want to create these massive spreadsheets and financial models, and you continuously pour time and effort and resources into refining whatever that is over and over again. And then you analyze it, and then you look at new angles and new markets. All you're really doing is it's another form of an excuse. The idea of analysis paralysis, or paralysis by analysis, however you want to say it, there's a couple ways that people say it, is that you analyze things to the point where you never actually freaking launch. You stand there, you look, you analyze, and it's an excuse. No matter how you slice and dice it, it's an excuse. It rolls back up into that first thing I said about excuses. Because ultimately what happens is it is a trap. It's an overthinking trap. And the more we research endlessly, the more time that passes, the more that the motivation slips. And it's also tied to ego. It's also tied to the second thing I mentioned about fear and ego, because you're actually afraid to do what you're going to do because you don't think you have the right information. And then you're afraid that you're not going to be successful. So then that is a fear of failure. So they're all tied together. I tell my kids this thing all the time. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. Very few things in life are isolated, singular things. So the idea of excuses, number one. Number two, fear and ego, number two. And number three, the analysis paralysis is going to just bog you down. I thought that this is a great quote by Marcus Aurelius. I thought it'd be really good to share with you here. So he really looked at perfectionism as fear in disguise. He wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." So what that really means is that if it didn't say, okay, let me reframe this. He didn't say do it perfectly. He said do it rightly. So I fumble a lot. I just fumbled now, right? Trying to read my notes here. And we're going to fumble. We're going to say stupid things. I always also say that business is a full contact sport. If you want to succeed in business, it's a full contact sport. You're going to get hurt. You're going to hurt others. You're going to get bruised. You're going to get broken bones. And I'd much rather wear out than rust out in life. I'd much rather shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, and fall right on my ass than not have taken my shot at all. And there's tons of books and there's tons of information online and all that about this piece of it. But I'm taking my shot and I'm doing it daily. And you should too. Because there is no tomorrow, and there is no one really stopping you except yourself. I wanted to pull a couple of examples that are very popular of people that almost didn't start. They were blocked by people, by situations, and they almost didn't go through that imaginary wall of ice. Howard Schultz, he's the founder of Starbucks. He created a massive brand. Whether you like Starbucks or not, you recognize how massive that brand is. He was rejected over 200 times looking for money for his expansion. He persevered. He succeeded. Walt Disney was fired from his newspaper job because he was, quote, he lacked imagination. Okay, we all know where that one ended up. And lastly, Oprah Winfrey was told that she was unfit for television, but she persevered. The halls of success are paved and built upon the foundation of failure. I need to remember that. You need to remember that. Let this be your reminder that you need to get your butt off the couch, get your butt off whatever you're doing, and create some momentum in your life. So the last thing I really want to sort of bring to light is some actionable things that you can do, being the creator of your own destiny, looking at that project that you want to start right in the eye, breaking through that wall of ice, breaking through the BS of your excuses, your fear, your ego, your analysis, paralysis, all that, busting right through and realizing you have this moment right now. You don't have tomorrow. Let's figure this out. Here are 3 things that will frame this up. Clarity. Define what you actually want to build. Make it clear in your mind. Write it down. I do this a lot. I write stuff down, even if I never see it again. But the act of writing it down creates that physical manifestation of I'm creating something on a piece of paper. It's cool too if you type it on your phone or on your computer. It's a little extra when you actually write it down. And if possible, use a fancy pen. Because that pen was created with purpose. Anyway, it's something I like to do. Fancy pen, fancy paper, and it helps me to really zero in on, hey, I'm creating this. I'm using these beautiful resources. So it gives a little bit more impetus and gravitas to move forward. First, clarity. Number 2 is constraints. Set some short-term challenges for yourself. Set some things that you can do to move the ball forward on that field. If you're looking to create a new business, set 1-week sprints. And so I don't know if you're familiar with this manufacturing and design and development tool called Scrum. So Scrum comes from the rugby world, and there's scrums and there's sprints. So the scrums is where they all kind of get together and they discuss what's going to happen, and then they sprint. So in the manufacturing and engineering world, design world, very similar. There's a scrum master who's a person who sort of manages the process. The team members get together and they develop the next piece or milestone of the project. Then they sprint, and it's usually a 2-week sprint. Sometimes it's more, sometimes less, but we'll just say 2-week sprint, and then they go back to the scrum. So in a matter of speaking, it's almost like you're climbing a mountain and you're setting your sights on that first small peak, and then you're getting your stuff ready to go, and then you sprint to that first peak. And when you get there, then you rest again and you devise your plan to get to the second peak, and so forth and so on. So those constraints are important. And so 1 week is good. If you want to do 2, that's fine as well. But you want to set some actionable things that you can get done in that week or that 2-week sprint. It's important that you have a way to reach the end of that. So I have a confession. I love doing yard work. And it sounds silly. Matter of fact, I had, and even cleaning my pool, I had a conversation with a good buddy of mine the other day, and I was saying how I was excited about doing yard work this weekend and cleaning my pool. And he said, well, you can pay for somebody to do that for you. And I laughed. I said, yeah, Jack, you can. But it's not the point. For me, I get great pleasure in trimming a bush or raking or whatever, because I see the immediate results. It gets done. If I spend an hour a weekend doing yard work, I'm in heaven. Plus the cold beer afterwards helps. But doing that because I'm able to start and stop. I can start the project and I can finish it. And when I'm done, it looks better than when I started. That is very different than my other world, which is the rest of my life, where I'm laying out these massive opportunities, these big projects. These tectonic plates are massive projects. And I add a little bit every day, but I don't always see results. So if you split your mega project into 1 or 2 week sprints where you can get things done every 1 or 2 weeks, it helps you move things forward. And the last thing is Commitment. Commitment. Sounds ridiculous, but it's super powerful. Incidentally, the number one factor of a relationship lasting is commitment, no matter what. And so commit to yourself. You can commit to others. This is a contented sort of something that people talk about a lot, whether you want to share it with people or not. And I think that's a flavor that you need to decide on your own. There's some, like for instance, I ascribe to some things I share with others because I want that accountability that I've told you I'm doing this. So it helps me to move forward. I know others like to keep things closer to the vest. There is some science to share that says that if we share with people, that becomes part of the pleasure of having done it, so that then there's less impact. Do whatever works for you. I'm going to share some things. I'm not going to share other things. So I tend to sort of throttle how I want to go forward with that. And then if you want to write it down, also very useful. I commit to doing this by such and such date. Put it somewhere you can see it every day. Super simple. We forget it because of convenience. We forget it because we don't want a letter sitting next to our bathroom mirror. Whatever it is, create a path so that you can be reminded on a daily basis. Put an alarm on your phone that every morning at whatever time it reminds you, you've got to do this because it matters to your family. It matters to yourself. It matters to your career. And that first step can be very hard. But I believe in the process. I believe in myself. I believe in those that I support and that I help with this. And I hope that this podcast has been a good reference for you to just get off your butt, realize those excuses, face them head on, but break through that wall of ice with that clarity, with the constraints of, okay, I'm creating this thing for myself in these 1 or 2 week sprints, and then the commitment to do it day in and day out, no matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult, no matter who pushes back, especially you pushing back. You're your own worst enemy, and I hope you realize that, so you gotta bust through that wall of ice.